Saturn over natal Rahu versus transit Rahu over natal Saturn. What would be any specials you have seen?
Well, I'm not familiar with Nadi Astrology, but if the related dashas are running, it can create problems related to the houses occupied by these planets.
When it comes to Pitru dosha, have you observed it working, and what combinations you have observed it working with Pitru?
What do you mean by Pitru dosha?
You know what you find in the astrological journals these days on Pitru dosha, ninth lord with so and so or whatever. Has it been mentioned, the Pitru dosha, somewhere in any class?
In some of the works there are doshas defined, like Sarpa dosha and all that.
Parashara does mention Sarpa dosha.
So it's basically affliction. Dosha means affliction. So afflictions to the ninth house. You don't have to give it any mystic significance.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
But at the ninth house, matters are facing problems related to the father. Then of course it's possible one has been negligent in performing these last rites, and some arrangement should be made for performing these rites depending upon your background. In some communities annual rites are done. In some rites are done on the day the father leaves the body. In some it's just on Mahalaya Amavasya, as a rule they do some rites. Those have to be attended to and taken care of.
Okay. Any combinations of 2 marriages, 3 marriages that you've seen working that you can vaguely remember right now?
See, you have the Kama Trikona houses, 3rd, 7th and 11th. If the 7th lord is connected with these, a common sign is involved, or Venus in a common sign influenced by Mars and Saturn, usually it shows more than one marriage.
You found it working really well?
Yeah, it works. You find this in the charts of most Hollywood stars and celebrities.
Okay. How do we see the second marriage? From which house? From the same 7th house or 9th or 2nd house?
From the same 7th house,
Yeah.
the running dashas.
Okay. Some people take 2nd house also because it's the death of one marriage, so they take 8th from it.
Yeah, but I go by the 7th house
Okay.
and the running dashas.
Good. Chandrakala Nadi sometimes mentions 9th.
If you are running, let us say, the first marriage has been dissolved, and when you go through the second marriage, let us say Makra with Ravi in the 4th house, and you're running Ravi Dasha, then the second marriage will be a disaster. Sukhasthana with Ravi, first of all, is not good. For Makra, he is also the 8th lord, so he'll destroy the Sukhasthana.
Parashar Rishi in chapter 11, shloka number 4, he has mentioned the word Bandhu for the 4th house. How is that to be interpreted? What would it mean?
It shows the domestic environment, because once upon a time the general rule was joint families, and it would include a whole lot of relatives, uncles, aunts, nephews, nieces, cousins. So all of them would come under the 4th house, because they would be touching each other's life almost every day. But now with nuclear families, it applies only to the nuclear family.
And chapter 11, BPHS, shloka number 11, the word Jayadi has been mentioned. How do we interpret that?
In chapter?
Brihat Parashara Varashastra, chapter 11, shloka number 11, the word Jayadi has been mentioned by Parashara.
In what context?
In like what are the significations of the 11th house? So some Banaras scholars have interpreted Jayadi as wife and children. You know, the English translations have given it a miss, except I think Santaramji. I do not remember that right now. But Suresh Chandra Mishra has written wife and son. The Banaras scholars in all the Chokhamba publications and all that, it has been mentioned as wife and. How do we interpret that? Because everybody in India has kind of missed that part in the English speaking.
11th house is the house of advantages basically. So Jaya and Adi, like success, etc., you can take it that way.
Okay.
At the same time, 11th is one of the Kama Trikonas. So it's inclusive of the wife. But I found the 11th usually also shows the daughter's female progeny in several charts. Female progeny where the daughters have been caretakers, more responsible. The 11th is always well placed.
Okay.
But it may be because the planets in the 11th are also aspecting the 5th. But in such cases, it has been the daughters who have shown greater sense of responsibility.
Okay. Sapatni has been used in the same chapter 11, shloka number 6, for the 6th house. The difficulty that we are facing is Sapatni is mistress or
Co-wife.
I mean, how do we interpret that?
You can see it has to be adapted to the times we are in. Once upon a time, a co-wife could also live in under the same roof. And traditionally, when all these vratas were being performed, like Gauri and other vratas, the women folk would pray, give me any kind of difficulty, but not a co-wife to my husband. So it would produce a lot of tensions and strains and a constant, because of possessiveness or whatever reason, when the husband would go to the other wife, she would feel alienated and left out. So the 6th house being the house of enemies, the co-wife would automatically be seen as a threat, enemy. But now you can't live with a co-wife. Both of you will be hauled up by the police. So if you have a girlfriend or an extramarital adventure, all individuals, such individuals, they are covered with the 6th house.
Okay. 7th Lord in 6th is normally taken for divorce. Does it really work always in practice?
Most times it does.
Yeah. Or another malefic has to be involved with the 7th Lord in 6th?
No, it depends upon how the 7th house is placed, how the lagna of the person is placed. If the lagna is strong, he may be a man of principle, a man or woman of principles.
Bhavat Ratnakar, written by Dr. Raman Saab, is one of the best classics. Yet, do you think in today's time another commentary by you should be done?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Whatever has to be said has already been said by Father.
Okay. Probably there is a place where he has given a rule in Bhavat Ratnakar for dividing a dasha into 3 parts and how to see the result of it. I can be wrong, okay, I'll let go of that question.
Father was always experimenting also because he was the first to reduce the Vimshotari 120-year cycle to a 5-year period, which is the term of a garment in India. So if it is in the United States, you reduce it to a 4-year term, which is the term of office of the president. So he was always experimenting, he was not very rigid. In fact, for calculating Santana Tithi, where 5 times the moon's longitude, 5 times the sun's longitude is to be reduced from 5 times the moon's longitude, and the Tithi derived is used to interpret the possibility of progeny. This is given in Paladipika, this method. The question was whether you should, for finding out the Tithi, Santana Tithi, should you divide it by 12, That is the arc of difference between the sun and moon defined as one tithi. Not by 15, because there are 15 tithis in a month. He said you try whichever you think works. So I tried both. And now I use both. And if both concur, then it looks like it's a positive sign for having children.
Okay. That method works?
Yeah, it works. It gives a clue. No method gives a total answer to any question.
The problem is the younger generation uses only one method and it comes to a conclusion like fast food
Yeah, but
astrology.
as they grow older,
Yeah.
they will also.
Yeah. I mean, just for the younger generation, how many times would you have read Brihad Parashara Shastra?
I haven't read it even once.
You're joking with us.
I keep reading it,
Okay.
not from page 1 to page, last
Okay.
page. Keep referring to it all the time.
Okay. And what should we do in the younger generation? We take a classic, read it n number of times, make notes.
Yeah, when you have a chart before you,
Hmm.
you keep some standard text before you. I usually do. Keep Hindu predictive astrology, or if it's on Prashna, Prashna Tantra is my favorite book.
Okay.
And Prashna Marga, when father was translating it, I wrote down all the notes for it.
Okay.
So that way also I was trained, in a sense. So you keep, and also you refer to any of these classical works side by side. For me, Jataka Parijata is my favorite text, although I hold Parashara as the final authority.
Okay.
And whatever combinations you have in the horoscope, look for it in the classical work.
Okay.
You will find it in the classical work with some modification.
Yeah.
No combination is found as you find it in the horoscope, exactly the same way.
Correct.
And then you try to understand that, and based upon the lordships, etc., try to come to a conclusion.
Okay. Jatak Parijata, you spoke about any particular verse of yours that was favorite from it that you found it working really well, from Jatak Parijata.
Yes, one sloka, I don't remember the reference. It shows like Mars can vanquish Jupiter. Though it is said that Jupiter in the ascendant or wherever, he is a overall constructive influence.
Correct.
It says Mars can overcome Jupiter, Venus, Sun, Moon, Mercury. The only planet that can overcome Mars is Saturn.
Uh-huh.
I have tried that while matching charts also, not for Kuj dosha.
Uh-huh.
If there is Kuj dosha, there is also Saturn influencing Kuja. I've taken it as toning down the dosha considerably.
Uh-huh.
So if Mars in the 7th and the 8th are the more powerful forms of the dosha. So when a chart has Mars in the 7th or 8th, also with Saturn, and the other chart has Mars in the 4th or 2nd, which is not that severe a form of the dosha, then I have said these two match.
Okay. Father's time, it's a nostalgic time, reading the old astrological magazines.
Yeah.
Did he ever discuss with you or talk about the other astrologers who contributed, or when they came, some stories about the great ones, H.R. Shankar?
No, I don't think he would discuss anyone with us.
Okay.
But whenever they came, we would be there. I would be there in the same row, my father and
Okay.
same Mr. Shankar.
Okay.
They were talking. I would be sitting there, just watching, listening to both.
In your experience of 40 years, 50 years of being with the astrology, I mean, you must have met hundreds of astrologers, especially of the elder generation. Anybody or 1, 2, 3 people that you felt really great, seeing their work, or what was their
I
contribution?
felt Mr. V.A.K. Iyer was unsurpassed. He was very good, and the way he would put it across was also very interesting. Then there was Mr. Lakshmanan.
Great. R. Lakshmanan.
Yeah,
R. Lakshmanan.
I
Favorite.
would say practical astrology, like the 7th house. If he was talking about the 7th house, a problem relating to the 7th house, he would always say, look at the 9th house. So if that is sound, this problem will be taken care of. And it really works because the ninth house is Bhagyasthana. So that element of luck is always helping you if it is well placed.
You know, sorry to interrupt you there. I have read his book. R. Lakshmanan has written Hindu predictive, some predictive astrology. I have his book, it's no longer in print. And he's mentioned 7th house this time, 8th house, he's named it something Saubhagyasthan or something like that, you know. And the 9th again, all these two, 8th and 9th controlling the 7th. And that exception I found, what is mentioned, what you just mentioned, that if the 9th house has good planets or is clean enough, then it controls and mitigates the 7th house afflictions to it.
Yes.
I found it working really well. Except in one chart, of course, with my lack of experience, in one chart I found a malefic over there, and yet the marriage had survived, you know. So
Malefic in the ninth.
malefic in the 9th.
Depends on where was the ninth lord placed.
Yeah, I don't remember that
And
chart.
the dashas.
Yeah. R. Lakshmanan, you must have met him several times, right?
Yeah, a couple of times. He used to come sometimes to see father when he was in Bangalore. I think he was a retired sessions judge or something like that. So after his retirement, sometimes he would come to Bangalore to visit relatives.
Is he the same guy called Vidwan Lakshmanan? Was he the same guy?
No, Vidwan Lakshmanan is from Chennai.
Chennai.
And he was bringing out this monthly Bala Jyotidam.
Ah, okay. And any other person you recollect who was exceptionally good?
Of course, I am my God. Whatever you know, there are several other angles, but all said and done, I have very great regard for Mr. K. N. Rao.
Okay.
And he's very articulate, very analytical, and very precise. And of course, regarding his predictions, you can have no second opinion on it. And he is a very powerful spokesperson for astrology. And what he did in the Supreme Court for astrology is something which all of us in the astrology community should be perennially grateful for.
Very true. Very true. I mean, we're actually grateful to him.
You
Otherwise,
know, it was almost a lone fight. I think it was a lone fight. And he was not well. But despite all that, he really took on the detractors and won the case for astrology.
correct.
Of course, unfortunately, the media has not publicized this part of the case.
Yeah.
Or even what the Supreme Court said. They still continue to attack astrology.
Yeah.
But that's of course because it pays them to take that stand.
Yeah. One quick question. I've always noticed Raman Saab almost did not include any article on mantra, tantra and remedial astrology except in a few places. Maybe. I remember P.S. Iyer's one article on tantric remedies, you know, except on remedies.
That's because he wanted to present astrology as an academic subject. Once you bring in mantra and other related matters, then it will not find a place in the university. It will be associated and identified with religion and religious practice. And this was basically because all sciences in India in the initial stages grew and developed in the temples, which were centers of social interaction, intellectual interaction. So he was trying to present astrology as an academic subject which anyone, irrespective of his caste, creed, religion, could pursue as an academic interest. And that was one reason. And also he would never usually, prescribe any remedial measures and all, because many times there was no need for it. Common sense was, of course, one of the important remedial measures. Sorry. And then, of course, timing. Sometimes you have to be a little patient and wait. Things would sort out for themselves. But on a regular basis, he tried to keep remedial measures out of his approach to astrology. because that was the way it could move into the corridors of the university.
I think the foresight he had back then, I don't think so even, the younger generation now has that kind of foresight of taking astrology to another pedestal.
Yeah.
We're grateful to you, madam, for whatever you've done with astrology. I mean, you have fulfilled his legacy actually.
No, I don't think you can say that. I'm just trying to work at astrology and propagate the subject properly as best as I can.
The biggest question in everyone's mind today is 20, 30, 40 years from now, who takes over from you? The Pantheon.
That's not my problem, it's God's problem.
Haven't you thought about this?
Father founded the Indian Council of Astrological Sciences in 1984, early 1980s. And it has done a lot of work in propagating astrology. It's manned by very committed, dedicated people from different professional backgrounds. After Father's passing away, we had Justice S.N. Kapoor, who kept the flag flying for almost 10 years. And then Mr. A.B. Shukla, he has taken over. He is also working very hard. Yeah. And has a very good team in Mr. Anjaneyulu, Mr. Navneet Kaushik, Mr. Pankaj Sood, and different chapters run by different chapter chairmen. And of course we have Mr. Sundaram, one of the oldest members, who was there with Father also. And he is, in a sense, the central pillar of the ICAS, taking all the difficult decisions, facing all the firing from different quarters. So that way also Doctor's work is being continued by the Indian Council of Astrological Sciences.
But I have one suggestion in my own small manner, being a small man, is can ICAS go another step forward and embrace the world by having their course online courses or a correspondence course conducted by ICAS, by ICAS teachers. It'll because I'll tell you, I've seen the courses that happen in America and wherever. I'm so sorry, I'm not trying to blame anybody down or put anybody down, but the level is not the level which our leader, our founder, Dr. Raman Saab has taken ICAS with. I've seen ICAS level, If we can have an online course, online certificate course of your various things, and it's very easy to do, correspondence course, You can even take it to the other level of webinars, but I'm saying the easiest pass is you have the syllabus. Yeah. It can be an online correspondence course conducted by ICAS. If you could do that, it will really, really help. I'm saying if ICAS has reached 20,000, 30,000 students so far, we are talking about 30 lakh people.
See, we have not ruled that out also.
Yeah.
We're trying to organize things.
No, I have mentioned that a couple of times in the past to the various ICAS office bearers, but the way I look at it is that's needed. That's a need of the hour. If the standard of astrology has to be maintained, the classical approach.
See, I think we'll be leaving it to the next generation, which will be computer savvy. That we have that drawback. My generation people, unless you are in the software field, you have a certain disadvantage where all this kind of thing is concerned.
I think Jairam could be a great help.
Yeah, he could be definitely. Yeah.
In spreading this online.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I kept you waiting. I know you need to go to the airport. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and a great honor speaking.
Actually, I should thank you. Your questions have been very good, and so many things that I wanted to just generally tell people about will now reach them through you.
Thank you, madam. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much.